Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Giannis' game ball, Shohei's unique clause, and Brian Windhorst joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin again today with Draymond Green, who has been suspended indefinitely by the NBA for hitting Jusuf Nurkic in the face Tuesday night. Green has often been suspended before, but always for a defined amount of games. Wilbon, what is your reaction to an indefinite suspension?
Well, the reaction is fine now, but that could change. I don't want to see some gutless application in a week or so of an 8-game suspension for Draymond Green. Then I'm going to be angry.
Right.
Today, I think it's fine. You basically say to Draymond Green, you know what? You have to get yourself together. You can't come to a workplace and punch a teammate, kick in the crotch an opponent, choke out an opponent, and then just bam, whack an opponent. You're a menace in the workplace, and we're not having that. So you go away. You get whatever, the key word now is help. Everybody's going to the word help. You get whatever help you got to get, but you're out of here until we see contrition, remorse, improvement, and something close to an absolute promise that you understand this behavior is not going to be tolerated. While all that is going on, I can take the word indefinite. If they think this is going to happen in a week and a half, then somebody needs to go after whoever's decision.
So I was surprised by this at first because I thought there would be a finite amount of games, and I thought it would be at least 20. And I got to thinking about this. I think this is very savvy on the part of the NBA. I just think it's really smart because what they're doing is they're saying, we'll put you back when we decide we'll put you back. You're going to have nothing to do with this. It's going to be our decision. Then we're going to tell people that you're better. I think it's a win for Adam Silver. I think it's a win for Draymond Green. I think it's a win-win, except for the Warriors, who don't know if or when they will ever get this guy back. I think Green ought to actually be appreciative for this, and he ought to say that out loud. And he ought to go and work wherever he goes. He ought to go and work on controlling his temper. But the proof of it will be when he does get back, when he do this again. And Mike, you and I are cynical old sports writers, and we have seen him do this on and on and on for years and years and years. I'm hoping he doesn't do it again, but I wouldn't bet on it.
You know, I give some credit to Kendrick Perkins, who right away, when this happened, when the chokeout happened of Rudy Gobert, he said, you know what? I have been through, Kendrick Perkins, anger management after a suspension. And he said, contrition and remorse are where you start, and Draymond Green hasn't started there yet. Okay. Kendrick Perkins saw that day one, and he was right, because we still haven't seen that from Draymond Green. Tony?
Yes.
We're waiting.
Yes.
We are, indefinitely. Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 64 points in a win over the Pacers last night, but he wanted something a little more. Giannis got heated as he believed Indiana took a game ball that he said he wanted for Damian Lillard, who had just passed Kyle Korver for 5th place in all-time threes. Rick Carlisle said the Pacers took it for Oscar Tshiebwe, who scored his first NBA point in that same game. Tshiebwe did. Antetokounmpo eventually got a ball, but he was skeptical. It was the actual game ball. Tony, is the headline here Giannis's performance during the game or this stupid kerfuffle that followed it?
Okay, so the headline should be that he got 64 points in one game. That's the most he's ever had. That's the most anybody in the Milwaukee Bucks has ever had, including Kareem and Oscar.
Yeah.
Okay?
And Oscar.
So it's not, though, because of what happened afterwards and the concentration on that video. It's not. Did you see when he ran up the tunnel like he was going to hit somebody?
Somebody's got his jersey from behind.
Okay, so that was crazy. You know what else is crazy, Mike? What else is crazy is the notion of it has to be the actual game ball. 10 minutes after the game, if I put 3 balls out,
no idea.
Nobody would have any idea.
Maybe
and by the way, they end up painted on a display, and nobody has any idea.
Even touches it again.
I was stunned to hear this thing that he wanted it for Damian Lillard because, and let's be accurate on this, Damian Lillard had passed Kyle Korver for fifth place on the all-time things, which is what? And then this is a quote: "We should stop from Giannis. We should stop what we're doing." And we should appreciate greatness. What? So Giannis didn't want it? Really?
Well,
I don't believe
that. But then he says he did, and he says it didn't feel like the. All of it's stupid. This is when you have too much. This is just an excess of everything in life So now I have to have that ball. If you gave him a ball, you're right. By the way, there are some point guards who would know the ball.
He wouldn't.
Huh? Magic and John Stockton and
Not 10
Isaiah
minutes after.
and those guys.
Not 10 minutes
I
after.
don't know.
Nope.
But anyway, it's a whole stupid thing. You write something on the ball
Yes,
that
and you
commemorates
display it.
the stupid ball and go home.
That's right.
Please.
We can move on. Let's dig back into the NBA with our great friend, NBA senior writer, Brian Windhorst. Brian, let's start with Draymond Green's indefinite suspension. Any sense as to how the Warriors feel about that and how they feel about him now?
Well, it was totally out of their hands. The Warriors' opportunity to manage the situation essentially has been taken away. They're making it seem like a collaborative effort, and I guess they were all on the same page, agreeing that it should be indefinite. He subsequently has been suspended 4 different times. So now it is in the league's hands. But Mike Dunleavy today made it clear that they still see him as a part of this organization. And quite frankly, they don't have a choice. They signed him to a 4-year, $100 million contract, knowing the positives and negatives. They accepted that, and there's no getting out of it. They decided that they wanted to remain in business with Draymond Green. It's been a partnership that has borne a lot of fruit and a lot of success and led to a lot of headaches. And so right now they're dealing with the downside, and their wager, just like it was last July, is that there will still be upside in the future. It's debatable whether that's true, but they're going to stick in that deal because they don't have any other choice, and they're going to have to hope that this is indeed Draymond's last suspension. Because I got to tell you, if we come to this point again, I'm not so sure there's going to be another chance.
This is endlessly fascinating. We know we could talk about Draymond and the Warriors for hours, but we'll move on to something else, Brian, specifically the Spurs, who lost their 18th straight game last night, despite Mr. Wembanyama going for 30 and 13 and 6 blocked shots. I was not a person who expected him to have big impact on wins and losses early on. But do you get the sense that the Spurs thought he might have an impact early on wins and losses?
Well, they certainly didn't think they were going to be 3-20, Mr. Wilbon, because that is not at all what Greg Popovich was looking for. I do believe that they felt that this was going to be a bit of an experimental season. I mean, they basically have not played a point guard in their starting lineup all year, and there's just no way that's going to be successful. But you are right. You look at the history of the NBA, rookies generally do not affect winning and losing. I mean, I'm talking about Luka, I'm talking about LeBron, I'm talking about Durant. It just doesn't happen. You don't do it in your first couple of years. What I would say, if you're a Spurs fan or you're a Wembanyama fan, this last 7 to 10 days has been something special because they finally made the decision to move him to center. They stopped messing around with him at power forward, and it's totally changed his output. These last 3 games, 22 points, 17 rebounds, 5 blocks. He went toe-to-toe with Anthony Davis in this game against the Lakers. And I know ultimately AD got the best of him, but he is still 19 years old. He is averaging 20, 10, and 3 blocks, and now he's playing center where I think he can make a big impact. I actually think it's been a great week in Victor Wembanyamaville. It's not showing on the scoreboard, but then again, it's not. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 or 3 years, there's only 2 or 3 players left on this team right now. This is going to eventually be just the beginning of a big Spurs build-up around him.
Well, while rookies don't always have a huge impact on winning, there's some young stars who are having some impact on winning. And I'm thinking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, of course, Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. It seems to me, Brian, like there's a changing of the guard that started already. Do you think they're ready to take over? And if not now, when?
Well, the league still is very much invested, and the fan bases are still very much invested in LeBron, Steph, KD, the old standbys that have been around for more than a decade. But if you're not paying attention to these young guys, you are missing out. You know, in the middle of the night on the first Sunday of NFL season, I understand why nobody watched it. In the bronze medal game at the World Championships over in Manila, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Davis staged a brilliant duel against each other, and Shai got him. Shea had a brilliant overtime, and the Canadians took the bronze medal. And I remember being at that game in that gym thinking this is the beginning of a potentially amazing rivalry in the Western Conference. I think you could see these guys play each other in the playoffs this year. I know it's hard to believe because of the recent legacies of their team, but I would argue that any Timberwolves Thunder game this year should be appointment viewing. That's how good these young players are. They got both a chance to be first-team All-NBA this season. And obviously, Tyrese Halliburton had a coming-out party. He's now a guy who I think you got to pay attention to, was also on that Team USA over the summer. But I don't know if America has joined. All of these guys are in small markets. They're probably going to have to prove it in the spring and summer before they really get the attention.
All right, we will get you out of here on this, and this is local for Wilbon and me, and it's important to us. Would you expect the NBA to support Ted Leonsis moving the Wizards out of D.C., which I characterized as villainy?
Well, would I expect the NBA to support one of its owners getting hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money? Well, I only have like 60 years of evidence to say yes. I think absolutely they will. I don't understand all the pieces of it. I find it stunning that Leonsis would move out of an arena that he owns in the middle of the city. I find it stunning that they would think that it's a good thing. I mean, one of the things we've seen in the NBA over this last about 20 years is teams moving back to downtown. In the 70s and 80s, the teams moved out of downtown, and largely that failed. And so it's been a struggle to get back into the cities. And here the Wizards, whose move into the city in the 90s was hugely successful, totally revitalized an entire neighborhood. Why they would buck that trend is very surprising. But from a league level, especially in a league where other guys or other teams, including the Oklahoma City Thunder, just got a ballot measure passed this week, are trying to get public funds, I don't anticipate anybody standing his way on the league level.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.